With everything else on hold due to waiting on parts, I do have the 2 carburetor kits in. So today, I think at least we're gonna get them off the car. I don't know about a part and back together, but let's at least take them off and see where that gets us. It looks like it's a pretty simple setup. They're some odd-shaped carburetors. They're side drafts, so instead of the air coming in this way like you would with like your old Rochesters and Hollies, instead of the air coming in here directly down the intake, it's turned 90 degrees. So the air's coming in here, and it's called a side draft carburetor because the air comes in from the side. These are vacuum hoses. That is EGR. This one that I just pulled off the front carburetor goes to the vacuum advance on the distributor. This is the PCV setup, so you got one here, and then going over the vacuum canister. Well, that one's not even attached. That makes that easy. Okay, one off. There's the second one. Oh, look how shiny and clean that is. Next is choke cables. Appear to just be slotted screwdrivers. But you know what? I'm running under the assumption that before this thing sat, it was actually adjusted correctly. The way the guy took care of the car up until it's sitting leads me to believe that that's probably a good assumption. So I'm gonna mark these choke cables right down to where they are sitting. That way, when I put them back on, I'll know how far down to put the cable on. At least in theory. I'll probably end up accidentally wiping all that paint off, and this will be all for naught. Come on now, there's one. There we go. Choke cables are off. These are the vents for the vacuum canister. They're the bowl vents, where everything vents out to charcoal canister to be reburned by the EGR and whatnot and so forth, and vapors and this and that, and it doesn't work that well anyway. So let's work on linkages. The bracket that holds all this is only connected by 2 of the mounting nuts on those carburetors. So we'll take those off and then leave this whole bracketry together. Somewhere around here, this is gonna have to go apart. Okay, nut and washer off that side. Repeat over here, which this side I can actually see, so that's good. There's a washer I'm gonna need to catch. Got him. Nut and washer off that one. And this bracketry is now completely loose from that. There's a tiny little cotter pin right here, and it appears that that has something to do with holding a piece in place for this. So let's sort of work this off of there if we can. Okay, cotter pin. Ah, okay. That's weird. They've got like a jam nut, and that's what holds that in there. Okay. Well, that makes sense. Those throttle linkages are now disconnected. Now the only thing is that links those together, but we'll worry about that once we get everything off. All right, I'm gonna get the 3 out of 4 of the mounting nuts off of each one, and then we'll deal with the fuel lines last. All right, 2. Okay, come on, there we go. All right, here's the one off the bottom there. There we go. Nut and washer. Okay, so now there's only that one and that one holding it on. Let's go ahead and get these fuel lines taken off of there. There. Okay, and we're gonna want to put this fuel line up and out of the way at a higher point, so it doesn't drain all the way out while we're doing all this work. All right, last 2. All right, here's what I'm talking about where this has been apart. This is the one I pulled off. All the other ones look like this. Same diameter, but different nut. These have been off before. Washer. Last one. I don't know why the threads are so long. Got it. And last washer. Nailed it. Now, just do a quick check with your hands, make sure nothing else is connected. These should pull straight off together. There we go. Let's take them to the bench. I think the first order of business here on the bench is to separate these 2 carburetors. Don't round, don't round, don't round, thank you. Get them loosened. That's like a doorstop. Okay, this is gonna be number 2, even though it's the primary. This one I know had the most problems, so we're gonna take this one apart first. This looks like a good place to start. Let's start up here. Maybe vice grip them. All right, just to get them started. There we go. And then we'll use Phillips for the rest. I don't want to damage these too much. There we go. Okay. We now return to Phillips screwdriver. And again, when you're doing carburetors, put everything in order when you're doing it. I don't care how you start or how you finish it, but for me, I just do it like a book, top to bottom, left to right, and keep all your parts in order on how they came out. So when you put it back together, you're gonna start the opposite way, bottom right to top left, and you'll know which way you took things off. This one has the carburetor tag number on it, which is not really necessary, but I'm gonna keep that. That'll go back on. That way, if there's some sort of specific number other than 175 CD series, then I can definitely further that adjustment based on that number. Or if some of these parts are incorrect, I can go to that number and try to order the correct rebuild kit. I believe this is spring loaded on the inside. I think there's a big spring, so I'm gonna go with dead blow hammer, but also holding. There we go. So this has some sort of spring and rubber diaphragm. Yeah, the lip of that actually holds this. So let me get this rubber diaphragm out of here. There we go, break it loose. I don't want to break it, just in case it doesn't come with it, or the one I get is bad, or I could use this as a spare if it's not bad. So I always try to save the old parts without ruining them, at least until you know all your new parts are good. There we go. So I'm sure this breaks down further. I'm just not sure how yet, so we're gonna leave that alone. Put that right there. Yeah, let's go here. Let's go to the bottom. Don't lose parts. Appears to be 2 short and 3 long here. It's pretty obvious, so I mean, you don't have to worry about which one went where. The short ones are not going to thread into the long holes, and the long ones are not going to thread all the way into the short holes. So that's not super utmost importance. One thing is, just take all of them off. 5. Maybe? That one feels weird. No, that was just a regular screw. Okay, so 2 short, 4 long. There we go. All right, so this is our float bowl setup. This appears to be the drain. Yeah, I think that's a drain for the carburetor. We're gonna leave that together right now because I don't know if that drain comes with it. It's plastic. I don't want to break it, but look at all the gook. Okay. So our float, is there a clip that holds that? How is that in there? Anybody who's worked on these before is probably shaking their head at me, but that's okay. Everybody's got to learn somehow. Because I don't think it was flooding because of the setting. I think it was flooding because the needle and seat are stuck. And this is needle and seat. It's going to be a 1/2 inch. So, needle and seat, which is not stuck right now, but I think it was. This gasket's got to come off. Pocket screwdriver, best tool for this job, because it's got this flat edge, and what you can do is just slide it underneath the gasket once you've got it going. So you could use a pick, you could use other tools, you could use a razor blade, but you don't need to have something as sharp as a razor blade. I think you can generally get away with it with this. So better tool, less chance of injuring yourself. There we go, 1 piece. I'll go right there for now. Never had one of these apart. I've done side drafts, but the side drafts I've done before are Carters, which is like a more traditional style at least US traditional style that I'm familiar with as far as design. This one looks almost more like 1950s like teapot style, like off a maybe 50s Thunderbird. Okay, and that definitely comes apart with Phillips. So let's get this gasket off first. Then we'll worry about getting the Phillips head screws off of there. Okay, so that one goes there. All right, Phillips. I'm gonna clamp them together with my hand so it doesn't come flying apart at me. And then we'll ease it apart. Let's see here. Oh yeah, there is a spring in there. That's gonna be important, and I doubt you get a new one of those. I'm not sure what that is or if that should come apart, so we're gonna leave this together. Doesn't sound like it's a needle and seat setup type thing. Looks like it might even be adjustable. We'll leave that alone for now. Now let's get this gasket off of this guy. It's almost like peeling an apple. There we go. Okay, save that. Those are those parts. It appears that this stuff comes off, but I don't know. Let's take this plastic cover off first. Okay. Oh, that is some sort of bimetallic something. I'm not really sure what. Huh, okay. Right. Okay. That is I don't know what that is, but that's really gummed up. So we'll spray that out instead of taking it apart, since we don't know what that does. That almost feels like the power valve. That's probably what that is, but that goes there. That looks spring-loaded, and that to me looks like an idle mixture screw. Let's count this one out as far as turns. Oh, that's an idle mixture screw for sure. Half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 6.5 turns. That's an idle mixture. So I'm gonna write how many turns that was. 6.5. That way we know. And that's only temporary because I'm gonna clean this off, but I don't need to get a notepad out right now, so 6.5 will work there, and we'll write it down after we get everything apart. This might be the last part that we're taking off. I really appreciate the fact that they've used brass screws in some of this. Makes it real nice. It's almost like, it's basically like putting anti-seize on something. Brass just doesn't like to corrode together. I don't know what that is. I'm not gonna take that apart any further because I don't know and I don't see a gasket, so we're just gonna leave that as is. Okay, I'm gonna call this apart. I believe that's everything we need to do on it. So I'm gonna go get the book, I'm gonna read up on this, and then we'll get the kit out and start cleaning everything up and putting it back together. And since that's probably gonna take a little bit, we're gonna call this part 1, and the cleaning and reassembly will be part 2. So until then, we'll see you next time.